What is up, lovely people in BluCranium land? So, I know it's been a little while since I've uploaded a video to the channel, and I usually try to keep it where I pick a certain day and stick with that day. But for some reason, something or the other keeps coming up, and then, I don't get the video out in time, so I kind of don't want to overpromise and under-deliver. So, so I apologize for the sporadic uploads, but I figured since I didn't make a digital drawing video or an illustration or a tutorial video of some sort, I figured I'd show you the stuff that I was working on while the camera was not recording. So this is going to be obviously part of the playlist with all the other traditional art that I've done. And I just thought I'd walk you through my process of what I think about while I'm creating these illustrations. So like now for this one over here, you can see I drew this big old skull over here, and the intention with this one is I kind of wanted to illustrate like as the skull's open, or the mouth of the skull's open, and I kind of wanted to show him kind of like almost like spewing up or throwing up these buildings that are all mashed and mangled, but it didn't really come out the way I intended, and oh well. And figured just keep carrying on with it, and just play around with it. And what I did do different is I kind of tried this new type of shading, which it's not new obviously. I mean, I've just tried it in my illustrations, and I think the correct term for it is called stippling, which is pretty much you just take the pen and you just start making these little dots all over the paper, and you start making them randomly. And then obviously if you want to have shading done, you just go over the same dots all over the areas that you're doing. And that's pretty much, and well, I kind of liked how it came out, so I kind of figured I'd do it for illustrations going up and above, or I don't know what I was saying. Ay. But as you can see, it's still got the real estate theme. Kind of drew these buildings kind of flying apart, and then I did this little fellow down here, kind of showing like he's pushing this skull in place, and kind of got some wires of entangling, electric wires I guess, tangled up down here, and just kind of showed the shadows and darks and excuse me, yeah, always gotta love that damn sore throat. But all right, on to number 2. Oh, that didn't sound right, but you get what I'm saying. So for this one over here, I kind of was thinking about the movie Terminator 2, which is, well, all the Terminators are pretty much part of my favorite franchise of movies to watch when I'm drawing or just relaxing. Never get fed up with the movies. And this one is based on the Terminator 2 movie, in the scene where you see the cyborg appearing and then just kind of crushing the skulls, and the whole blasting from the nuclear war that ended up happening, and just all these little skulls across, and this little skull, or not skull but skeleton up here. I kind of like how this one turned out, where here you have the protruding of the nose and kind of like these black teardrops. And I think what is really cool about the movie Terminator, or from the very beginning, is kind of how the director, what is it, James Cameron, kind of warns us about AI coming about. And I think it was and will always be a movie way ahead of its time. So that's always why it's my favorite movie. Any movie that's ahead of its time but comes out like years before, I think is really cool. So that's what I was doing for this one. So let's go to the next one. So this one over here, I was pretty much just doing like a collage, And I started out with drawing this skeleton over here, and then I think I added this fellow up here and added a little one over here. And pretty much what I wanted to signify in this piece is just showing, like, say if you were like looking into a well or some sort of dumping ground where all skulls and bones are pretty much just disposed of after, what is it, the whole excavating of the burial site. I guess this is what it would look like. So that's what I was kind of going for. And I kind of like how the whole blacks and the whites kind of all come together, kind of show like, this gravel and stone kind of picking up over here, and then like a whole bunch of skulls and skeletons down here. So that's what was going on for this piece. And these pieces definitely take me a whole lot of time, especially like, doing all these little lines that you see all across. That takes the longest, because it's like, you just kind of go slow and steady and make sure, because there's no control Z in this, like as opposed to when you're doing digital art. Alrighty. So this would be number 3. So this one over here, I kind of wanted to show a skull or a skeleton kind of looking up at the world. And this is kind of based off that, I'm trying to remember if the piece, what I called it, is, the one where I kind of show the whole skeleton and the buildings and kind of like, the wires coming out of that. So kind of like a up close and zoomed in picture for that. Kind of do a high-rise building over here, and then another skull over here, and then this little fellow over here in the darkness. I kind of like how the darkness and the light kind of have a nice contrast over here. And then I tried the same stippling look all across it. I really like how the white and the black have that nice beautiful contrast. And then obviously, like, for doing these lines, it is almost like you get the practice of rendering hair. So it was not intentional, but I think that's kind of what it looks like. So then we go to this one. This one, what I was planning on is almost like if you were to open up a casket and kind of look at a skeleton, kind of like if it had like that surprise kind of look. Obviously it has just one eyeball, which is obviously not realistic, but I think it kind of has that nice kind of like, ooh, kind of like when you catch somebody in a moment where they're kind of surprised and kind of got that half grin. And obviously, you can see he did the rendering of the hair. And then I kind of had fun with this part on top over here, which shows like all these small little rocks just kind of flying apart, and doing them all flying in like a different direction. Almost like, say if you were to what would I say, put like a little, not really an explosive, well, if you were to have a scene where you would show like rocks exploding, I guess that's how they would kind of go off in all the directions. So that's what I was kind of showing off over here when I did this illustration. Excuse me again. And then for this one, obviously I did another skeleton over here, and this one kind of almost blends into the work. And then I kind of showed like, all these buildings in the background, and something about drawing skulls with buildings or skeletons with buildings, I think kind of goes together, because when I was thinking about when I was illustrating this one, you always think that like real estate and people will always be something that will always be together. There's no point in having buildings if there's no people staying in them. And know what my thought process was, but you get what I'm saying, the fact that people stay in buildings. And this one, for some reason, this skull or skeleton, I'm sorry, is having some sort of a bad day where he's, I guess, just screaming. It's like, yeah. And you have all the buildings in the background kind of like, like just kind of flying apart. But as I said, like, from the very beginning, these illustrations are just abstract, purely in nature. And definitely have a whole lot of fun recording them. Not recording, I'm sorry, drawing them without having the camera playing. And I kind of forgot to mention this audio is coming through my phone, or the one I'm recording with. I'm just kind of curious how the audio turns out. So let me know in the comment section below how it turns out and if it's clear. Because the ones prior to this, what I do is I just record with this phone, mute the audio, and then just do a voiceover with my tablet. So I'm just kind of curious how this one comes out. But anyway, guys, I guess this will be it for now. I know it was supposed to be a quick video, but it's almost going on like 10 plus minutes. But as always, keep creating, keep drawing. I will see you guys down the road or on the other side. Bye for now.